Dudley, would you mind opening this for me?
So from here, dear friends, if you come closer, because we don't hear whispers, from here we see the southern retaining wall of the Temple Mount, and you see the steps. And we sat on these steps, we sat under the pergola, and we saw what we see from here, from this side. And what is interesting that you see on the model two double gates, right, with two chambers each one. And this is actually a mistake that Michael Aviona made, because, you know, his problem was that he didn't get to see what we have seen. Michael Aviona completed this model in the year 1961, and in 1961 the Old City was yet part of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. So he couldn't see what we have seen. So he made a mistake, but he based his research and whatever you see only on the descriptions. He never saw a picture or something, because it wasn't left. Jewish people didn't, you know, draw pictures. They described how the Old City looked, and well, it wasn't called the Old City, how Jerusalem looked back then, and how the temple looked. And these descriptions are given in Talmud, Jewish oral tradition, and by Josephus Flavius. So here shows here double gates, but we've seen that there was one triple gate, if you remember,
yes.
Blocked gates. And I told you that the triple gate was taken for entrance, while the double gate was taken as an exit. Okay, so, and the southern steps. Also, you see the tombstone there in the middle, looks like a pyramid to you. This was supposed to be a tomb of the prophetess Huldah that was never discovered, but this is there because there was a description that there was a tombstone there. It was probably destroyed later. What you see down here, you see huge buildings that look like palaces or administrative buildings on the southern slopes of the area called Ophir. So this is what also was not discovered by the excavations, because there are Arab villages are built there, but Josephus says that that's where there were palaces built by the queen that adopted Judaism from Mesopotamian kingdom. Her name was Adiabin. Also down here you see the square pool that is supposed to be Siloam pool, you see? And the Siloam pool, okay, again, the model was made in 1961, and the Siloam pool was only discovered in 2006. So, and it doesn't look like it, like this. The Siloam pool has steps that were made by Empress Eudokia in the 4th century, and we don't really know how it looked in the 1st century, because what was found the way it was remodeled in the 4th century by the Christian Empress Eudokia. Okay, so you also see that there is a channel that comes down, and there are bridges on top of it. This is supposed to be Hezekiah's tunnel, but it doesn't look like it, okay? It looks completely different, okay? Also, you see here on the left side, on the slopes, you see the buildings that are adjacent one to the other, small buildings, small houses, as opposed to the big, beautifully adorned buildings in the upper part of this area. So this is the Western Hill. We didn't get to go there, and this is the lower hills of the Western Hill, where, according to Michael Aviona, there were kind of a economic segregation. Poor people lived on the slopes closer to Siloam pool, and the rich people lived in the upper city closer to the Jaffa Gate. Okay, so this also doesn't exactly reflect what was in the city, because the archaeological evidence today shows that there was no such very clearly shown economical segregation as it is today. You have slums and you have rich quarters. Back then it wasn't like that, okay? In both this part of the city, they found remains of the big buildings, like looking like villas, so which means that the upper class also lived on the slopes, and the poor people also lived there, and the rich people also lived there, okay? And in the upper part of this Western Hill, you see the building that looks like a pyramid. Yeah. This building is, you know, the building's architectural pattern is taken from the Kidron Valley, where they found a pyramid of the same period, Second Temple period. And here Michael Aviona just took this as an example, because we don't really know how the monument dedicated to King David looked like. Okay, we don't know. But today they show you sarcophagus inside the synagogue, and this is King David's alleged tomb. again, there is a problem with King David's tomb. We cannot really, be sure that this traditional King David's tomb is that tomb, and that's why there is a problem with this. If there is a problem with Jesus' tomb 2,000 years ago, David died 3,000 years ago, that makes even more questions. Okay, let's go further.